Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Crush Your Mountain Wellness. And I want to tell you that you want to hang on to every word of my next guest because it's going to make you think. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because our guest today is a brain, energy, and intuitive thought coach. She's an amazing woman. She's been through more than 50 countries, so she's a world traveler. She is an adventurer. She just got through recently climbing a mountain, and Lord knows what else she loves to do. We're going to dive into that, but she's going to share with us a number of things, some energetic hacks to stimulate our minds, increase our brain and physical energy. We're going to look at some foods that might help us as well. So let me just tell you a little bit more about her. Rina Lang, as I mentioned before, is an brain power and intuitive intelligence coach. Okay, now the thing about it is this: after struggling for many, many years with memory loss and focus and challenges like that, brain fog and fatigue, she actually found a way to tap into her own abilities to release and harness her own creativity. And as much as she did, she cracked that code and unleashed her intellectual abilities. And we're going to have a chance to learn a little bit about her there. So I hope you listen carefully. Let me go ahead and bring her on. Rina Lang, welcome to Crush Your Mountain Wellness.
Thank you so much, Henry. Thank you for having me here and for allowing me to share my story. So yeah, I'm a mind and brain power coach. So what I do is I help people to actually tap in and unlock and unleash their full potential of their minds and brains. One of the myths that I like debunking or helping people to debunk is actually that, as we go through our life in the earlier years, throughout our teenage years, our intelligence increases. Then it plateaus at some point in our 20s, 30s, and then it's downhill from there. So these are your the most productive years, and then eventually the mind starts deteriorating, usually sometime late 40s, 50s. And many people just think this is a normal way of doing business on this planet. That's just the way things are. And what I learned over the years is that that is not true. There is so much we can do to heal our brains, to heal our minds, and access levels of being genius that we never thought would have ever been possible for us, because we were just not born with those gifts and skills that we usually associate with geniuses. Just to tell you a bit more about my story, so my brain started breaking down in my early 30s. So that's why I didn't have, an option to just wait it out until, I'm in my 50s. And then let's see if I can do anything about it. Usually that's too late. It happened to me in my early 30s. And reason being, and perhaps this is something that you can identify yourself with, I'm an achiever. I always wanted to be the smartest in the class and smartest at the university. And I burned myself out several times in my teenage years and in my 20s. And I didn't pay attention much to that. I thought, well, everybody gets burnouts and that's just it. But what I didn't realize is that in the process, I actually fried my brain several times. And those of you who are struggling with procrastination, brain fog, and all that, usually it's self-prevention. It's how your body fights back and to protect you from getting burned out again. That's what I realized later on. And so as I landed my dream job, I worked in finance and consulting in my 20s and early 30s. And when I landed my dream job, was making all the money I wanted. And I thought, I'm on top of the mountain that you want to crash. I was on top of that mountain. And then boom, something started happening to me, such as I was forgetting everything and anything. I would go into client meetings and I would not remember what was discussed. I actually had to go and record conversations on my phone and then listen to them again because I could not remember. I had literally blank space. Nothing was there. And of course, I was not very successful in my career. And I decided to really take a break. I took 1 year sabbatical, traveled around the world, spent all my money, but I went back to the roots of healing myself, healing my mind, resting my body, resting my mind, learning yoga, learning meditation, going to Buddhist temples and doing programs there to learn about their practices around mental health and such. And I learned quite a few things over the years now. It's been almost 5 years since I left, and I became an entrepreneur ever since then. And so definitely putting your mind health and brain health first, it's very important. And if there's one takeaway from this conversation that we're going to have with Henry today, this is the takeaway that I want you to have. Put your mind, your brain first. That's all you have.
Well, that begs the question then, why is mind health or mindset the key to healing, and how can one upgrade their mental state?
Well, first off, mind and brain are two different things. Mind is an energy field. It's an energy field that you use. And there are three things to the mind or intelligence, if you want to call it. There is the intellect, instinct, intuition. There are three things. And I'm going to talk more about it and break them down and share with you the difference. But basically, the mind is an energy field. And I think everybody these days is familiar with the energy concept. We feel bad around certain people, and we could feel good around certain people. And usually those people who make us feel good, they're usually very positive. And people that make us feel bad, they're usually very toxic and negative, and we want to automatically stay away from them. So that's the energy field. The brain is the physical tool that we have inside of our cranium that reads those energies. And because we never actually get to clean up that energy field, what most of us are suffering from is the monkey mind. The brain is trying as hard as it can to keep up with the contents of the energy body. And it keeps spitting out as thoughts, whatever is floating in your energy tank. And that's why the brain is the most stressed organ of the body. When you go to the gym, do some exercises, yes, you have muscle pains, you go sleep it off for several days, the muscle goes back and relaxes again, because we stress, worry, are constantly in the catatonic state of fear and fright, the brain never gets to relax. That's why insomnia is a big issue, right? And a brain that never gets to reset, rejuvenate, recharge, eventually is going to give you the bill. Eventually going to have to pay for all that, which is the mind starts breaking down, the brain starts breaking down. If you look at the statistics, right, 50% of people above 80 all have some sort of a mental issue. But what you also need to know is that 30 years before, the brain already starts breaking down. So if you think you're going to wait until you're 50, 60, and then you're going to start taking care of your mental health, think again. The time is now. The time is now. The sooner you start, the better. And there are many tools, techniques that I've learned over the years that you can learn to take better care of your energies, which is your mind, but then also take better care of the brain, the physical brain itself, which is another thing. Most people, when they talk about brain health, they usually focus on foods and exercise. This is not what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you more about the energetic side of healing your brain by using your mind to heal your brain.
They say that according to the latest studies, that Alzheimer's is actually detected 30 to 40 years before symptoms are showing. Alzheimer's is actually in the brain 3 to 4 decades before it's even showing in our visible symptoms. So our energy, you're saying that through the practices of improving and increasing our mental energy or our brain energy, we can actually, if not reverse it or stave it off, we can at least slow it down. What's the most that we can get, or the furthest we can go with this?
So perhaps before answering this question, maybe let's talk a bit more about Alzheimer's itself. Those of you who are familiar with the chakra system, and those of you who feel energies, and you're familiar with chakras and such. Chakras are energetic centers that feed our body. This is what our aura uses, our energy field uses to maintain this physical body alive, right? And the chakras have different sizes. And those people who actually experience Alzheimer's, I've worked on people like that. The interesting thing about those people is that if the chakra size is this on the person, around the brain, it's usually way smaller. Half size or third size, which means that for a long, long time, the chakras have shrunk around the brain, and the brain has not been fed energetically properly.
Okay, now what's the difference between the chakras and the meridians for those that have heard of those terms but they don't know how they connect, or how they work together?
Good question. So chakras are the centers that are located along the central line. So there is an energetic field that cuts through the body, goes through the crown, and comes out between the legs. Out of that energy channel, there are chakras that are expanding, these energy centers, and usually they're associated with the different glands in the body. Different chakras correspond to different glands in the body. Some of you are familiar with the 7 chakra system. Some of you are familiar more with the 12 chakra system. And still, it's not set in stone. 7 have been revealed in the beginning. Now 12 have been revealed. And it doesn't say that there are not more than just that. But basically, there are big chakras along the central line, and there are many, many, many smaller ones, like on the hands, armpits, everywhere where basically you have joints and such. And there are many, many, many tiny ones. So the tiny ones usually, and there's energy flowing between all those different chakras. Meridians are those energy channels that are flowing between the different little chakras and such. That's where acupuncture comes in. They actually work on those bigger chakras, but also on all those little tiny ones, and they can easily get blocked. That's where acupuncture comes in. They insert needles so that whatever energetic clog there is, it gets released. And then energy is able to flow into that part of the body again, and the pain is released and you feel lightness. So basically, those chakras, their purpose is to absorb and expel energies to feed energetically the physical body and keep it alive.
So if we were to create an illustration for folk, we would say maybe the chakras themselves are the little stations where the energy resides, and the meridians are the routes that travel throughout the body and perhaps even between the chakras.
Yes. So it's just like, see your aura as not just a light energy field, but see it almost like a spider web, or like a cocoon with many, many millions of threads all around. And there's energy that travels, which means that if the brain starts breaking down, a person gets Alzheimer, something happened around the head area and the brain has not been energized for a long, long time. What many people don't know is that energies crystallize, thought forms crystallize, emotions crystallize, which means if you have chakras, and the chakras basically pretty much, they're like expanding and they're expelling negative energy, they're absorbing positive energy. They're constantly rotating and they're processing information. Like one major chakra is here, the Ajna chakra, right? A lot of people that get wrinkles here, a lot of our thinking is happening kind of like in this area. So because there is a chakra that actually is absorbing, using our eyes, absorbs, breaks down that information, filters through it, helps us think through it. But then a lot of stress, a lot of worry is also there. That's why we get wrinkles, and often we feel so tense around that area. Guess what? After decades and decades, if you never clean your chakras, all that energy that you keep absorbing and absorbing, you read things, you listen to people, you interact with people, it starts crystallizing, and it starts crystallizing within the chakra, which means the chakra is no longer functioning properly. It's no longer rotating. That's why we age. If you keep your chakras healthy, you will maintain a youthfulness much longer than a chakra that is no longer able to properly expel negative energy and absorb good energy. It starts stagnating, which means the energy starts crystallizing there. Again, the chakras start shrinking and the brain is not being energized properly.
Well, I have to say that you must know what you're talking about there, because you said you were doing this, that you discovered this in your 20s and 30s, and we can't tell that you're any more than that now. So it has to be working. So you have slowed down the aging process. Now here's the question: what are some energetic hacks to jumpstart your mind that we can do today?
So first off, a lot of the energy that is sitting in your energy field is not even yours. We are like energetic sponges. Everywhere we go, people we interact with right now, what's happening between Henry and I, it's an energy exchange. he's saying something, I'm receiving that energy. I'm saying something, he's receiving energy. A lot of the energy that we absorb from places, people, we just feel it's kind of like heavy and toxic, and we want to go home and take a shower, right? One thing that you can do is, for instance, like Henry right now, what you could do is just check in, what sort of emotion, predominant emotion that you're feeling right now in your body. And then you can close your eyes, just tune in, and then ask yourself, how much of that energy, what's the percentage of that energy that it's not even yours? Give it a percentage. What would that be, Henry?
For me, I would say about 30% is not mine at this point.
Excellent. What you can do is just generate the feeling of free fall in your body. Like, you're going to get caught. Like when we were children, you jump around, it's safe for you to just fool around and relax completely. Everything is going to be okay. Just relax the grip on that emotion, generate that feeling of free fall, and then allow that energy that is not yours, that grayish energy, whatever it is, to just float out of your energy field. Allow it to expand. Thank it for being there. Thank it for serving whatever purpose it thought it was going to serve you. And allow it just float out of the window. You can send it back to whoever you picked it up from, and the energy will go back to whoever it belongs to. Or you can just send it back to the universe to be transmuted into love and light, whatever you choose. And then just let go. Often when you feel overwhelmed, like you can barely cope with an emotion or thought or stress, whatever it is, chances are it's not yours, because whatever is yours, you can easily cope with, because life never gives you more than what you can handle. But if you feel overwhelmed, check in right away, and start every single day before sleep. Don't go to bed until and unless you checked in your own energy field and put a percentage on how much is yours and how much is not yours. Start getting rid of whatever is not yours. That's already such a simple tool technique. Try it out. You will be surprised how much it will do for you.
It's very interesting that you said that, don't go to bed like that, because you mentioned some various schools of thought and practice. In my own personal studies of scripture, the Bible in this case, the Bible says that a person shouldn't go to bed in a negative thought, in a negative state, specifically being provoked. And these days, there are a lot of things that can provoke a person. Isn't that true? So that's an excellent point.
Yes, it's really, really important to get rid. I would even add in doing forgiveness, some sort of a forgiveness prayer. Do never ever go to bed being angry with anyone, because being angry with someone, it's like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. So you have a choice over how you feel, and by letting go of whatever is not serving you, it's a very first step of doing it. Of course, there are much more techniques that I teach in my programs and in my one-on-one coaching. And reach out to me should this be of interest to you. But this is at least one tool that you can already put into your toolbox and start practicing on a daily basis. It's very, very easy to do. And it will help you to begin unclocking and cleaning up your energy field, because we are like, we are like monkeys. We are grabbing everything and anything that comes our way just because it's for free, right? Free energy, let's take it. But actually it's not useful in any way to us. And that's certainly something that I felt when I was at my worst, when I had, my memory loss and procrastination and all that. One thing, because ever since I began meditating, one of my superpowers is actually that I can feel energies. I can feel energies in my energy field. I can perceive other people's energies. And that's a gift that I use a lot also in my coaching and helping people unclock and unblock whatever's holding them back. But actually one thing that I realized is that because we are accumulating, I was definitely an information junkie. I was reading so much. I thought by absorbing all that information, it would make me smart. But then I realized that I was feeling like I had a fish ball around my head. I had so much energy around my head. A healthy aura looks like an egg-shaped form. But most people, they have an aura that is more like a bulb, right? A lot of energy sitting on top. I think that's my theory actually as well, why people get bald.
Okay. Okay.
Because there is just so much energy, and the hair is just, you start losing the hair just because all that energy starts just congesting this whole area. And that's why mind fatigue and brain fog is a big thing.
So you're
Right.
saying I'm really smart and and I've got so much energy up here that my hair just couldn't take it.
Because men are usually a bit more mental than women. So women are much more balanced in there is energy here and there is energy there. Men often escape their emotions, right? Men often escape their emotions, and they're much more operating their lives out of this space.
Mm-hmm.
But emotions is what gives us color and such. I don't know if you've heard of this. I was reading this book by a person who investigates dreams and such. One interesting thing he mentioned is that men often dream in black and white. And women actually are more likely to dream in color. And when men reconnect more and more with their emotions, they start dreaming also in color. I don't know how true it is, but I thought it's kind of like a curious, interesting piece of information.
That is interesting. So a man that dreams in black and in color, what category would he fall into?
Well, those who are more balanced when it comes to their minds and emotions. And because emotions are not your enemy, but many men, they cannot cope with their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, emotional disassociation is often the reason for things like cancer. Most of our 95% of all our, I would say, all of our ailments, they have their origin in the emotional body. Many say it's the mind, but very few people actually think on this planet. To me, thinking is having original ideas, creative ideas, bringing in ideas that inspire and that are new. But how many people that you know, maybe even yourself, how many original ideas that are 100% yours have you had? When I had so much congestion around my head, one thing that I started doing is unclogging my mind and sorting through the contents of my mind. How much is ingrained, trained, programmed information, on how much is actually my true original thought. And I realized a lot of things that I was so opinionated about, and I used to fight and argue with people about, they weren't even my opinions. I never actually sat down and generated that opinion. And as you can see now in this world, in the last several years, so many people are polarized in their opinions and in their different camps, that there's very little dialogue happening between people, because people are only able to see one side of the truth, and they cannot comprehend the truth is like a diamond. They can have very, very opposing views, and all of them are still true, right? And it's because of that. It's because of that crystallized energy. When you start breaking down the energy so that it becomes as fluidic as children have it, that's why children learn everything so easily. That's why children are able to perceive completely contradicting points of views and still make sense of it without being polarized. They just pick and choose whatever works for them, and they don't enter into any crazy arguments and are not willing to kill and die for it, right? But the older we get so crystallized in one opinion. That's why the world doesn't change because people change. It changes because people die. And it's because of those crystallized ideas. When you start working on yourself energetically, start breaking down those crystallized opinions, you will realize, oh my God, I've learned that when I was 7 years old, 50 years ago, the world changed. It has no relevance absolutely to my life now, but I'm still willing to fight and argue with other people over it. When you start breaking it down, everything makes sense. Yeah, they have a point of view. They have a point of view. I understand why they're doing this. And I
Well,
don't judge.
I am absorbing a whole lot of energy from you right now. You certainly have that, and you project that, even though we're a couple of thousand or miles away from one another. But I wanted to ask you though, what are some things that you might have tried and failed in finding a solution to your brain fog and short-term memory and mind fatigue?
So
Go
for
ahead.
sure. So as I mentioned before, most people, when they think about brain health and mind health, most people just want to improve their memory, right? And they try to play memory games, and they try to, do some memory courses, right? Visualizing pathways and alleys and storing things there. I tried that. It's hard to do it when your brain, A, is not energized, B, when your energy is crystallized and it's hard, and the wheels in your brain are not working properly. I tried memory games, I tried speed reading, I tried food, I tried exercise. Usually foods, yes, great. Foods are great, but it's not going to get you the results that you really want. It's one of the things. Physical exercises, yes. Walking around, pacing around. I highly advise anybody and everybody, if you're glued to the screen all day long and you're watching replays, if you join all kinds of different programs, I highly advise, as you consume information, pace around. Walking around helps tremendously to improve your memory. All those memory games, speed reading, I tried it, but I failed because I didn't have the will to persist, because it was too slow and too hard. But because I was feeling my energies, I could just feel there is something more to that. And so I started learning energy healing, and I started clearing myself, cleaning myself emotionally more than anything, working on my emotions, cleaning myself energetically, working on my chakras. And I started feeling that my head was feeling lighter. My memory automatically was improving, just because the energy in the contents of my energies have improved. I began speed reading, not because I did a course, but because a mind that is healthy and clean is able to do those things, but we are often boring our minds with slowness. They're able to function much, much faster once it's fluidic again, once the energy is fluidic again. And so one of the things that I highly advise to you is really work on yourself energetically. It will facilitate everything else, especially if you're lacking will to persist or lacking time to persist to do those courses and such. Because at some point, when everything is just hardened, no matter how much you push, you will give up eventually, because it's just one step forward, two steps backward.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned food. What brain foods can we use, and exercises at that, can we actually use to improve now? I like to work out pretty much every morning, but I do a quick workout, nothing too intense. So what can I perhaps add into my routine, or help others as well to add into their routine? And then I'm going to ask you a little bit about the connection between that and type 2, type 3 diabetes.
So basically, I mean, I'm not a food expert, but if you Google, there are plenty of foods that are recommended, such as avocado and grapes and blueberries and such. What I advise, perhaps what I've tried and I think worked for me the best, is I give up coffee. So coffee is a stimulant, and many people advocate and they're adamant that coffee is great for the brain. Well, it's great for the brain, but maybe bad for the gut. So you have to make a choice. The reason why I give up coffee, and I was a coffee addict for like 15 years, is because every time when I gave up coffee, the 1 week of headaches is not worth it. And it made me wonder, what do I put into my body that makes me sick for a whole week? And so what I started doing is replacing my coffee with actually shakes. I just throw in a bunch of things like avocado, beetroot, vegetables, celery, fruits, whatever I can find in my fridge. I don't have a preference. Yes, sometimes it's brain foods such as blueberries and grapes and such, but I just overall like exchanging and putting all kinds of different fruits and vegetables together, mix them all up. And usually at about 2 p.m., I get like kind of like a low energy. And this is when I would usually get my coffee. But instead of that, now I would do my shakes, and it's such a good energetic boost that for the next 2-3 hours, I'm on fire and I'm able to push through and work on my business. So if you can do that, is again, yes, you might love your coffee. It's great. And maybe it's giving you that kick that you need and you just set your brain on fire. But again, just give up coffee for a week and see what it does to your body. To me, anything and everything that has withdrawal symptoms that are this bad are not worth putting into my body. And because I feel energies, I just energetically was feeling that coffee is really not good for my body. Will I drink coffee again? For sure. Once in a while, it's good. Everything in moderation is great. But this is perhaps one of the things that I think worked for me greatly. Another thing that I really highly recommend is, as I mentioned before, we are boring our brains with slowness. And that's why they're breaking down, because the brain is not challenged enough. Years ago, I love listening to audiobooks, and I started increasing the speed of the audiobooks. Now everything I listen to is at about 2.5 to 3.5x. I trained my mind to focus and listen so that I get all the information even at that speed. People ask me, well, you will miss out on information. No, you won't.
How
Think
can
again.
you how can you create a practice that can level up there? Say we start out at 1 and then increase it increase it after how much time between
Okay. So you will sense. The thing is this. If you're listening to audiobooks, any app will allow you to increase speeds. The same for podcasts. Everything has a speed control. Then what I did is also on my Google Chrome, I installed a plugin. I think it's called Speed Control or something like that. And install a plugin. And once you have it as a plugin, every single video that you watch will have a little button on top where you can start increasing Netflix. I watch all my movies at 2.5x or something like that, because I don't have time for drama. I just want to know the gist of the story. But basically, you just start increasing 1.25 and such. The thing is this. Those of you who have resisted to meditation so far, think again, what is meditation? Meditation is focus and prolonged awareness on something. It can be the breath, it can be something that you're listening to. When you're listening it at a slow speed, normal speed, your mind gets bored. What do? You start looking at your phone, you start getting distracted, you're multitasking, you're doing other things. The mind is scattered, and you train your mind to be scattered. However, when you start increasing the speed, your mind is forced to focus on that one thing, and that's meditation already. You can totally call it meditation. It is. You're putting awareness and focus on that one thing. Slowly but surely, because your mind has to be alert all the time, because if you get distracted, you might have missed out on that golden nugget that you were actually looking for to learn. And by doing that all the time, eventually your mind will become much more focused. Also in other areas of your life, you train your mind by watching replays. I don't have time to watch a replay that is 3 hours long. I have 1 hour while I'm cooking. So that's what I do, you know? And another thing is, as you're listening to that replay, get good headsets, start pacing around as you're listening to it. And your retention is going to increase tremendously. You will see, you will notice as a part of your brain is being busy, making sure you don't trip and fall. There is another part of your brain. That's why the best ideas come under the shower, right? We're busy washing ourselves, doing something physical, but our brain, other parts of our mind get activated and ideas are flowing. I highly advise first listen to a replay first fully to get the gist of it. Don't be busy there writing like crazy. Get the gist first. And then maybe listen to it again and only listen those portions where those golden nuggets are mentioned that you actually need. And by doing it day after day, you will increase your ability to focus, and that's already meditation. And it will be useful to you also in other areas of your life, such as when you decide to start time blocking and just 1 hour working on this, no distractions, 20 minutes on this, 50 minutes on that. You will be able to focus on that one thing. And the mind loves that. The mind loves just focusing on that one thing. That's when the mind rests.
Here's an interesting question, because we're talking about speeding things up. Now, with meditation, there is a slowing down of the body. And then something else occurred to me. We're going to talk a little bit about your fun facts, but one fun fact about me is I love to cook. And there's something incredibly, dare I say, for lack of a better word, very zen about taking the time to cook something that has that long, slow process, like making a good ramen soup and starting a couple of days before to get the broth just right, and then taking the time to bring the flour and water together to make the actual noodles, and then to make the char siu egg and boil it at a specific temperature, and then bringing it all together, making the taro, bringing it, and then finally creating that one bowl of soup, which is the end product. There's something incredibly it falls into that mindfulness state. Are there merits to practices like that?
Yes, for sure. There's time to run and there's time to walk. If I watch a replay in 1 hour instead of 3 hours, I have 2 hours to be mindful and meditate. It frees up my time to spend that time with my family and do the things I want and slow down. That's the thing. When you train your mind and clean up your mind starts working much, much faster. It's like going 200 kilometers an hour, whereas everybody else is going 100 kilometers an hour. And that's something that certainly I'm seeing in my life. To me, it's like 30 seconds, I made up my mind, I already know what to do. Whereas another person needs to think 1 hour to get to the same conclusion, which means it's just that my mind is working much, much faster just because it does, not because I force it. It's just is able to grind through the information much faster because my chakras are bigger. My chakras are able to grind through the information, and my mind is cleaner. My brain has less monkeys to deal with. It is able to actually do its job properly. The thing is this, we've settled down for slowness. It's not natural ability of the mind to be so slow. How about seeing it more like my mind thinks faster because it's empty, it's cleaner, and it's able to focus on that one thing, make up its mind very, very fast without like sifting through all that energy, all those vibrations, all those bombardings, from emotional body, other people, and being entangled in so much drama. We're so thinly stretched. That's why we think slow. But actually, when you bring in more and more of yourself, let go of what's not yours, the brain is so much faster. It's able to do incredible things. And that's when you start unlocking and unleashing your true genius potential, because that's when your genius can truly shine. When it's not busy fighting fires.
Okay.
I'm deep on meditation. My mind is clear. I have time to meditate. I meditate in the mornings 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. Because I have the luxury of doing that because I know once I start working, whatever I needed 20 hours to do before, I can get it done in 8 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, let's jump on a couple of things about you. Okay, I understand that you have a children's book coming out.
Yes, several actually.
Several children's books.
Yeah, so the thing is this. I'm not just, when you start unlocking your mind and brain, you start operating on a completely different level of intelligence. And I touched on this briefly in the beginning, and I said I was going to expand on it more. Intelligence are three things: instinct, intellect, and intuition. Animals, they're very instinctual. For a long, long time, we as humanity, we were very instinctual, right? It's procreate, eat, survive. And it has much to do with the navel chakra. That's where our instincts are. And a lot of people, they make a lot of money on their instincts, such as sportsmen, martial artists. They rely on that intelligence of reacting really, really fast. They have an extremely developed instinct. And that's what makes them a lot of money, right? Then we have people who are very intelligent. They have the intelligence in the sense of they have intellect. They know the facts and they know the figures and they have great memory. Usually they're using these two chakras, your ajna and the throat chakra. These are the two chakras that where your memory resides, where you are grinding through information. You're able to calculate really, really fast. It's very, very mental. But then there is a third level of intelligence, which is the intuition, which makes use of the forehead chakra and the crown. These are the two chakras. If you read,
That's usually called the third eye, or I forget the pineal gland. Is that where that's located?
Yes. It's the ability of perceiving the inner world. I love reading biographies of very smart people, Nikola Tesla, Einstein, if you name them. If you read their biographies, they all say that it's an intuitive hit that they have. People that are creative, they're operating somewhere out there. And it's that ability of actually transition between the conscious mind and the altered state is what makes them geniuses, is that ability to access higher realms of ideas. I highly advise you read the book called Stealing Fire on this topic. You will see that people who are in the Silicon Valley, at the forefront of innovation. Also the military, they're doing anything and everything to hack this ability to access altered states. You can learn a language instead of 6 months in 6 weeks in an altered state. When you're in an altered state and you're memorizing things, it sticks, it gets stored in a completely different level of our consciousness.
That said, I gotta ask, how many languages do you speak?
5.
5. Okay, so we know English, we know German, because
okay, it doesn't matter.
No.
But basically, I've been learning ever since I've been transitioning from this altered, playing around with altered states. I've been learning Portuguese.
Portuguese, yeah.
And just, of course, I speak Spanish, so that makes it easy. But still, the ability, it's the ability of learning a language when you're in an altered state. Definitely, when I'm listening to my podcast, I'm putting myself in an altered state of consciousness to memorize, to remember things. And this is, by the way, this completely different wavelength that children operate on. That's why they're so extremely successful at learning new things and languages. And we lose that ability because then we transition in a different wave.
That brings us back to the children. Tell us about the children's books.
Yes. So basically, to me, the children's book is, I see myself just as a channel. And it's a completely intuitive writing. And it came to me one morning. I just woke up 2014, June, and the book was just there. I never thought of writing any book. It was just there. The idea was there. And it's an intuitive, it's the real deal when it's there and it doesn't leave you in peace. And you just eventually have to start writing it. And I'm writing now, it's going to be a 3-book thing, but now I'm on the 2nd book. But basically, I sit down in the morning and just start writing it, and it just flows, and I don't know what's going to be the next thing I write. I get a hint, this is where the story is going, but basically everything is just, I feel like it's almost like being dictated to me.
Is this a fiction or non-fiction?
It's fiction, yeah.
Okay.
But it's also a very, very personal thing. It's an inner journey toward healing too. All those different characters, there are different aspects of me and different things that I'm trying to process myself. So any type of writing is very, very healing. So there are 2 things that I would like to recommend to the listeners here is that A, protect your mornings. Carve out the time in the mornings to do the things that you love the best and the most. Creativity is the gateway to intuition. In the morning, this is where the best ideas flow. That's why many people wake up with incredible ideas when you're still kind of like in this altered state and the consciousness state. A lot of insights come. That's what they often say, if you have a problem, sleep on it. In the morning, you're going to get the insight. Start protecting your mornings. Don't just get up and start working on your chores or working on whatever things you must do. Carve out the time and do something that you absolutely love, be it writing, be it whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel like you want to do. Because by accessing that creativity, be it painting, writing, whatever it is, by accessing since the early morning hours, that energy, it will serve you throughout the day. No matter what you do, if you're working on your business, the ideas will keep flowing and you will love waking up because you know something awesome is waiting for you. So start doing that.
Now you've been through over 50 different countries. Which one did you have the most interesting, energetic experience?
So there is a reason why I'm in Mexico. Mexico is my soul's home. This is where I always come back, and I've been coming back here for the last 16 years. And this is where Mexico is so colorful, and I love Brazil too. Both those 2 countries, there is so much music, culture, colorful, positive people, happy people. Of course, there are troubles in the country too, but I would say somehow people are just so positive, so kind, so sharing, so caring. And this is where I feel like I blossom when I'm here. And I highly advise also for you, if you are someone who is feeling stuck and your brain is failing you and you're struggling with mental deterioration, I highly advise you do what I did. Take a 1-year break, gap year. The world is opening up again. It's easier to travel to Mexico, wherever you want to go. Take that gap year. It's cheaper than you think. If not, try to pay off your debts. That's what I did. I decided I was going to leave, and I had 9 months to pay off all my debts because I knew with debts I will not fly far. But basically, I made sure that I had a clean slate and had some money to travel with, and I invested that money in myself. I went to Brazil, I went to Cuba, I went to Mexico, I went to all those places, India, Nepal, that I always dreamt of going. And I just thought it's now or never. And just by taking yourself out of your normal environment, you will be able to get that shift that you require toward healing. If you've been stressed out of your mind, if you feel like you have not been eating well, or you have not been taking care of yourself, traveling is actually a very, very good way to take a breather. I meditated, I did my yoga course, I was in ashrams, just nurturing myself, slowing down, getting perspective, because by the time I left my last consulting job, I didn't know if I liked green or yellow. I didn't like it. I didn't know if I liked pizza or pasta. I was so lost. And the best thing you can do is know thyself. Learn who you are. Go back to your roots. And that's the first, actually, the number one thing that you should do is actually get out of this doing, and go back to being. Just being. And do things out of that beingness. Because in your beingness, you are amazing. You were created amazing. Think about the last time you held a baby, just newly born baby in your hands. How beautiful that baby is. There's nothing that the baby, absolutely nothing that the baby needs to do to be perfect. It's amazing, it's beautiful, and it's divine, it's a miracle, and that's what you also are still. But as you were growing up, somebody told you, no, being amazing is not good enough. Let's pursue the watered down version of amazing, which is be perfect. And do something to be perfect, and then I'll tell you if you're perfect or not. You get a good grade if you're perfect, or you're going to get that medal if you're perfect, or your mother, father is going to love you if you're perfect. And we bought into that lie of being perfect. Mm-hmm. And we are living our lives all the time, doing to become perfect. Mm-hmm. But that's BS, because you don't need to do anything. You're just amazing. You screwed up. Isn't that amazing? Like, how nobody screws up better than you. Isn't that amazing? Like, there is nobody who like you. There is no other second person like you. Isn't that amazing? You make mistakes. Isn't that amazing? You do the right thing. Isn't that amazing? You lied. Isn't that amazing? Like, nobody lies better than you, whatever. Isn't that amazing? Just go back to just work on that, flipping that switch again and going just back to amazing. Everything that is not aligned with you just being amazing, it means it's a program that somebody put there to keep you small.
So, we're going to say something else. Do we lose each other?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you this. What are some ways, with this COVID, and it looks like all these various polarizing issues are not going to go away, and actually the fact of the matter is they're going to get worse. So what are some ways that individuals can cope with these 21st century issues, problems, and occurrences, and and get out of the 20th century mind that we may still have? And to be honest, I'm thinking about folks in the South, in the eastern part of the South, the United States, who tend to lag behind in certain new practicalities.
The thing is this: very few people on this planet think. Again, they think, but they just follow old patterns, and a lot of it is just emotion with a little bit of thought smeared on top of it. But usually it's just emotion, fears, regrets, worries about the future, disappointments, whatever, all kinds of emotions that we so hard try to sweep under the carpet. And that's what current marketing, everything, politicians, politics, everything is targeted at, keeping us trapped in negative emotions. That's what marketing, television have figured out. That's what everything is about. Movies, everything is about playing with our emotions, fears, whatever it is. There is very little thought there. That's why I cannot stand watching a movie anymore. I try to speed it up. Give me the gist of it. I don't need the drama because I don't have that drama in me. I don't need drama on TV. But give me a story. how does this flow into COVID and such? Because very few people think. We are so happy to surrender our thinking to somebody else. Priests, politicians, teachers, parents, whoever that is, since our childhood, we surrendered our thinking to someone else. And I guarantee you, if you surrender your thinking to somebody else, they will make decisions to not your advantage. They will make decisions for their advantage, and you're going to lose out. They will make you think they have your best interest. Yeah, let's save you from COVID. But by the way, give us more information about you. Let's make you more transparent. Oh yeah, I'm so afraid. Yes, please. Here, I'm surrendering more of my rights, right? And that's what you need to strive by. You need to start cleaning up the contents of your energy body. And that's what freedom is. You need not physical freedom. You can be imprisoned in a cell, but you can have mental freedom because you choose how you feel and what decisions you make. The more you clean up, and there are, of course, much more techniques that I teach and do with people, which I cannot explain in this context, but there are so many tools, and that's what I was after. I never, ever, ever, no matter what shit is happening on this planet, pardon my language, I don't want anybody to affect the peace that I feel inside. And that's what, for instance, Buddhism is targeting. That's a lot of their practices are all about, is achieving that sense of inner peace, that no matter what's happening around you, you are an island unto yourself.
Wow.
That's what absolute freedom is removing all those entanglements in other people's dramas. And you will no longer be glamored and blinded by whatever is happening in the world. You can be still in that state of peace, no matter what's happening with you. And we all know people like that. People who face calamities, who face almost death, and they just stand firmly and they still stand up for it and they're not afraid. And they still stand up for what is right because there's peace inside of them.
Yes. Well, you know something? I got to give you my last question. And we have to think about this. You have such power and energy and the way you project. And your mind is indeed racing, you know. And I feel like I've run a marathon just running up and keeping up with your thinking. It's incredible. You got to be a great chess player if you play chess. I imagine you probably do, you know. And I just want to say this though, and just ask you this, okay? You've done so much in turning things around for yourself. You brought in the power of your mind and your intuition and your intelligence, your intellect. Rina Lang, what does it mean to you to crush your mountain?
First of all, remove the mountain completely. The mountain is not your enemy. The mountain is your friend, and it helps you grow. So by turning your mindset around, and rather than seeing it as an obstacle that you need to crash through and it's your enemy, see it like, well, life would be boring without that mountain. Let me stretch myself to the next level. Because just when you stretch yourself, just when you're ready to give up, you might be surprised what is awaiting you behind that mountain, another mountain usually. But you might be surprised how much more you can achieve, right? And just last weekend, I was climbing actually a mountain. And for a long, long time, for a whole day, I was thinking, I'm not going to make it. And when I was walking down that mountain, I still couldn't believe I made it. But it was a beautiful experience. Often we look at that mountain and it feels so enormous and we can never do it. Take just one step at a time. And might be surprised how far you get. Many people, they want things to never change. They want the routines, they want the boring lives, they want to just the same old, because they try to avoid problems, they try to avoid stretching themselves. But if it's, again, do you have that growth mindset, or do you have, what's the opposite, stagnant mindset? I think there's a whole book written about it. If you have the growth mindset, to me, every new mountain, it means I'm going to up level, which means that if other people can do all those amazing things, like become famous, be politicians, do crazy things, walk the rope between buildings and such, I cannot do it now, but if I keep up leveling, I'm surprised how far I got. I'm surprised where I am now. I've outgrown everything that my background would have offered me originally. I've outgrown my parents. I've outgrown everybody in my family because I'm addicted to mountains and climbing them and up leveling. So if this is something that is for you, if you really want to get the most out of this life, when are you going to get again another chance to have this day today, right? Keep up leveling, and again, you never ever give up on your mind and brain. Your body might age, things might break down. The only thing that you get to keep is your mind and brain. Just when you're the wisest, just when you're most experienced, the last thing you want is start losing your mind, right? You want to keep it. The older you get, the more wisdom you have. You can start contributing to helping the youth, right? Helping the world, helping change the world, because you're no longer, you have that perspective, you've lived life. But that's the real pandemic that we're really living through, that people that have all these experiences become completely irrelevant. They become irrelevant because the world changes faster than they can, and because their minds are breaking down, because their minds are not flexible enough to cope. And I think that's one of my biggest fears. I don't know if it's your biggest fear, but to me, it's like having all this experience and then turning 60 and then completely becoming irrelevant, where my children don't even want to listen to me because they're like, Mom, you don't understand the world. What the hell are you talking about? And that's what's happening with parents more and more, because they cannot really support their children anymore, because the world changes so fast and they cannot remain relevant in their children's life. So if this is something that is your biggest fear, then start working on your mind now. Break it down, make it more flexible, heal your brain so that you can stand firmly. I admire when you come across those old 90-year-old ladies that are still really full of life and gist and fun and just enjoying their lives, because, and they give you all those golden nuggets because they're like, well, I've lived 19 years old, now I can be sarcastic and whatnot. I love those. I want to be such a 19-year-old lady that is just awesome and cool. And then how many of us have 60-year-old parents and you're like, you don't stand the world, like what are you talking about? Right? So that's what I see for myself. I want to be that cool, sophisticated old lady. That's my goal.
Well, I'll tell you what, certainly we value that in you, we see that in you, and then you got another 40 years to go before you hit that point, or less. Judging by young, I say you probably have another 60 years to go. But I'm going to tell you, Rina, we want to thank you so very much for being on with us. You have a tremendous amount of information. If someone needs to reach out to you for training, for insights, where can they reach you?
Sure, easy. So just go to rinalang.com and /book. So I've just recently published my first ebook. It's great. I talk a lot about the energetic secrets for how you can actually use your mind to heal your brain. And there's also a free mastermind training that you can watch. So just go to rinalang.com /book. Sorry, and also connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, same Rina Lang. I do have also a private Facebook group where I go live every Friday and I talk about all kinds of topics related to this. Check out my YouTube channel as well. If you go to rinalang.com, there are all the links. And I look forward to connecting with you and share with me what are the things that you struggle with. And I'll make sure to do a podcast or live cast, whatever, around that topic to share what my knowledge is in that area. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you. And look, friends, Alzheimer's is a major problem in this country. Okay? Personally, I took care of my mom